Sometimes I think it makes a lot of sense to just take a bit of a different perspective. And in this video, what I mean by that is, one, I'm showing you this beautiful meadow of so many different beautiful flowers that we have near our house. But that's just a small thing. I just want to take videos of it because I think it's so pretty. But apart from that, when we talk about minimalism, oftentimes we are inside a bubble. And so it's very hard to have a more objective view on the subject. So I do think it sometimes makes sense to step outside and look at it from a different angle. A question that really helps us to do that is when we just ask why. Why do I want to spend time in this meadow? Why do I want to live a minimalist life? Why do I feel gravitation towards a subject, a person, a piece of clothing? And to talk about all of these things, I want to use the time that I have to spend anyways to take care of all this food we saved. But I want to kind of look over the comments I got on my most recent post on YouTube, where I announced that I'm not going to upload a video. That was last week. Because I think there were some good thoughts, and some of them I'm going to turn into videos, but not all of them. And some of them actually fits today's topic, so I thought, why not cover them here? So one person asked me what I do if sometimes after a long day, when I just don't feel like it, then there's of course still stuff that needs to be done. And I guess we all know that feeling, like just how do we manage? And she especially said that then sometimes in situations like these, she kind of uses maybe more unsustainable options because they're quicker, and she just doesn't really do stuff according to her values just to get it done, to be able to get it all done. Wow, this broccoli is like losing its flowers. I'm gonna take care of that and come back. And I definitely know this feeling, and this is part of it. That's why I'm filming, because when I record a video while I'm doing this, it doesn't feel that boring. And I can put these in the fridge. They look fine to me. No, actually this is not fine. I have to cut parts off. We're gonna make space. I'm gonna use this as compost and then get rid of this thing as well. So, of course I know this. I think this is a huge problem or a huge struggle when we try to live more sustainable, more minimal, more according to our values in general, as long as our values are something like we want to be a good person. I think it's especially these moments where you realize how difficult it sometimes is. Like, for me, grocery shopping is a great example. I would love to shop plastic free. I would love to just buy organic foods. I would love to maybe even eat healthier, whatever that means sometimes. And yes, I do grab convenient options. We do have like some frozen ready-made stuff, like not complete meals, but parts of meals that we can just put in a pan or in the oven. And that is a huge thing. And that's something I'm realizing whenever I think about sustainability, minimalism, living a good life, a happy life, that we do need to take care of ourselves first. Like, we can't pour from an empty cup. And yes, I feel bad, and yes, it feels like I'm not good enough sometimes, but I think we all have to make compromises to get done with the stuff we need to get done. I think while it is good to try to work and live according to our values, I'm going to get this away. It also never makes sense to punish ourselves or feel super bad if we can't 100% live like we want. Because I think it's just like, we will fail if we are just okay with us being perfect, and if we're not okay if we're not 100% perfect. But I think sometimes online it doesn't seem that way, and sometimes people make us feel bad because it seems like they have everything together. What do I do next? This mango really doesn't look good. I think one big thing I need to do is taking care of bananas, so I'm gonna get no. I'm really overwhelmed with all of this. I can put this in the fridge. This looks good. I think the best thing to do is doing our best. And our best is sometimes not going all the way until we break apart, but our best is sometimes everything we can do while still maintaining a good everyday life, while still being able to be there for our family and for ourselves. Let's just look at this. And like this, I also think it's really important to know that we can never really say that minimalism is the solution, like minimalism will make us happy, or living sustainably is the solution, because none of us can do any of it perfect, I think. And if we're like following minimalism, sustainability, zero waste, a certain word or concept to perfection, then I'm really afraid that we're losing mental health and joy and, I don't know, real life experiences along the way, maybe. So this is not good anymore. The same person also said that she likes when I talk about gratitude, and so I thought this is actually a related topic. And now I'm gonna get a bowl to look at all of these delicious cherries and see if they're all still edible, but I need something to put them in. Oh, actually, before we move on to the gratitude, I do want to say that this is a perfect representation, right? Because there's so much plastic and I need to throw away so many things. But I'm getting this plastic because I can save food, and I'm throwing away things because I want to take care of my health. And I'm a bit overwhelmed by all of this, but I'm still trying to use up all of this food that would other ways have been wasted. And so I think this is the mix between trying to be sustainable, trying to be a minimalist, trying to be like as zero waste as possible, and sometimes, just making the best of what's available. The thing about gratitude, though, is that I feel immense gratitude, and I think in general gratitude is something that really, really helps us to live a life that feels beautiful, to experience like joy and satisfaction and pleasure in life. And I often feel it in these small moments of solitude, actually, when I'm on my bike, like not listening to any music or anything, to work, for example, and I see a pretty cloud, or I just sometimes I just almost have to laugh aloud because I just think like life is so beautiful. And that sounds weird, right? To some people, at least, I guess. But I thought, like, why would we suppress or not talk about the good feelings when we have them? Because life is hard enough. There are so many things going on this planet that are not okay. That we should take the good parts and not try to be cool and say that, oh no, I would never feel joy just from riding my bike. But when we're already talking about gratitude and about unfair things, I think one problem with food saving, for example, is that the people that can food save are often people that are already a bit privileged. So when you think about it logically, it would make the most sense that people that do not have enough money to pay for their food would be able to save food. But these systems work in a way where if you have friends that have a car that already go food saving, then they tell you when they went and where you have to download an app and how to do it, and they maybe save some food for you. And to save food, you need time, you need the resources, you need to be able to be flexible and be there and actually get the food and things like that. And that sounds bad, and I don't know, and it's again one of these imperfections, one of these things where I'd like it to be more fair, but I think everything I can do is save the food I can save that would otherwise go to waste. And I also call friends and ask them if they need any cherries and if they need any other fruit that I have here, because it's too much for me to eat. It's too much for me to eat. And I think that's also a very, very big part. It's just always trying to see what is my part, how much can I do, and doing everything that I can do, but also seeing like when is the piece of cake too big for me to eat? And then I try to share it. I not just give up and don't have any cake, but I try to share it. And that's the same with burdens and difficult stuff as well. I also got a question about knitting. Actually, I think yesterday or the day before I knit, like a dishcloth or something like that. But other than that, I have not been knitting so much. And I'm just trying to give myself permission to knit when I want and to not knit when I do not want to knit. And so, unfortunately, I have some unfinished projects that are laying around, and lately I have not felt like knitting. But maybe one day the fun will come back and I want to knit again, and then I'll knit again. Or I'm gonna take apart the unfinished project, I'm gonna give away the wool that I still have, and then that's gonna be fine as well. That's something I really am trying to learn, to give myself permission to not finish stuff that I don't want to finish. Like if I read a book and I don't like it, I do not need to finish it. And if I start a knitting project, if I start a hobby, anything like this, I do not need to do it until the end, to finish it if it's not what feels right, because it's just a hobby. And then I'll of course try to make sure that I use the most sustainable methods I can to get rid of things that I don't need anymore, if there are any supplies, hobby gear, things like that. These cherries look really good actually. I'm happy about that. Another person asked about relationships and minimalism, like with social media and everything. How much do we actually need other people, and like when do we just need any other people, or should we be really, really picky? Like I'm paraphrasing here what they said. Like that's not exactly what they said, but it's more about like, what about parasocial relationships? Can they give us enough? Or how many like real life friendships do we need? Should we be picky? Should we just take whatever comes our way? Should we declutter all of our friends? What's up with that? So I do think and they also said that humans are of course social creatures, so they do mostly want some human interaction and contact, to feel happy, to share what they like, to share their worldviews, to share their problems and joys with. And I think that's absolutely true. I do not think that it's a good idea for most people to be completely isolated. And actually, I've read different things about that in the past months, and I can't really say where it's from, but as far as I know, it's like this. We used to believe that people should really always be around other people because we're social animals and we need other people. And that is not true. Solitude and being alone can be beneficial. There are people that do not suffer at all from being very alone for a long time. And it was alone to the point of being in a dark cave for 2 months or something. And just doing what you're doing. I don't know. But I also think, and that's something I read in a book of a person, and she did an expedition to Antarctica, and she was on her own for an extended period of time. And what she said is that whenever she's alone, it's fine, she manages, it's not a huge problem, but she realizes that she kind of, because you're just in your head, you start to lose sight of the size of your problems. what she described is that after 40 days of being completely alone, because she did not have any contact to other people, sometimes small problems became really important, and it was really hard to kind of gain a perspective and a relationship between what is important and what is not very important. And I guess that's true, because if we have other people to talk with, then at least for me, that also really helps me to to test if it's true what I'm thinking. Like, of course, for that we need other people that want our best, that are interested in us, that want to listen to us. And I think that is also how I want to answer this question. I do not think that being alone per se is a huge problem, but I also do not want to say that living your life completely alone or just with parasocial relationships on the internet is going to be super fulfilling. That also doesn't mean we need to be in contact with our families and maybe keep relationships that are really not good for us. I think then you'd be better off alone maybe. But I do think that over a longer period of time, it would be great to have a few people in real life where it's not a parasocial relationship, but just a really actually social in real life relationship, because it really helps us and it really makes our life better. And that is something I'm struggling with too, because I'm almost 30. I have a son that is an age that's not usual for my age as a mom. Like, at almost 30, most people don't have kids. I moved to a different country. I worked from home without any colleagues for a few years, and I did not have any contact. Like, I did not make any friendships during my university time. So I feel very isolated sometimes. And I'm trying to kind of have new relationships and friendships, but it's really hard as an adult, and that's something I'm working on, sometimes more than other times. And I'm so happy that I have my partner, my boyfriend. But then on the other hand, I think that should not be everything. Like, it would be a good idea to have a bit of a broader circle of good friends. But I know that many people feel this way, and I don't live a bad life, but it's really something I'd like to still work on. And the next question I'm going to talk about while taking care of these grapes, because I think some of them are moldy and the bag also doesn't look good. So I definitely don't want to leave them in here, and I don't want to get rid of all the mold because that's not healthy. But I still hope that I can eat some of them. We're actually going to just put them in here so I can directly wash them. So, but the next question I want to talk about is about minimalism. And this person is asking for some non-traditional ways to implement minimalism and what to get rid of. And I talked about it before, but I do think that decluttering and minimalism for the sake of minimalism might be a very frustrating road to take. So what I would suggest is a few different things. Okay, this looks really bad. I'm gonna just get rid of all of this because there's too much mold everywhere here. And this can go as well. Ooh. But we have another bag here. So what I suggest instead is seeing minimalism as a tool to a better life. And I'm pretty sure minimalism can help. And some people might think, like, if we remove ourselves completely from the complete minimalist bubble on the internet and offline. For example, a psychologist who read an interview I gave for a newspaper in Germany and then gave their opinion about it, they talked about it as if minimalism is definitely like a mental health problem, and that people who are minimalist or want to be minimalists do have some like inner conflict from their childhood sometimes or other weird stuff. And I don't think that's true. Like, I think minimalism is okay. Minimalism can exist. Minimalism is not an indicator of bad mental health, but it can definitely help you. It can be a coping mechanism if you struggle with your mental health. It can make your life easier because maybe if you're a minimalist, you really think about what you want to buy, and so you can save a lot of money. It can help you because it can just de-stress your life, which then again helps your mental health. So I do think minimalism can be seen in relation to mental health, absolutely. But I don't think that we should see minimalism as like a bad symptom. No, we should see minimalism as a strategy to optimize our mental health or to actually help our mental struggles. And so my question would be, what is it that you want to have more of in your life? What is it that you want to have less of in your life? What would make your life better? How can minimalism help you to live a more happy, more relaxed, more fulfilling life? And with this in mind, with this big question first, I think it then becomes easier to realize what you should declutter. It becomes easier to think like, is this blanket gonna help me? Is this gonna hinder me? Or is it just not relevant? Because I think that's something we sometimes overlook. So if you want to become a digital nomad, then almost everything is gonna hinder you. You would want to get rid of almost everything because you need to have like very small amount of things. But in a life of most people, it just doesn't really matter if you have 2 pairs of shoes or if you have 4 pairs of shoes. It does matter if you hate 2 of those pairs of shoes. Then you should get rid of them. But then in itself, like if you plan to live a happier life and you own shoes that you hate, that should be the reason. Like then you should get rid of them because they're not gonna help you fulfill your dream of a happier life. And I definitely also know the feeling of satisfaction just by decluttering, because we think like we're doing something good, we're moving in the right direction. It feels so liberating and freeing if we can just declutter stuff and be done with it and solve these problems. But that's fine as long as you're also moving in the general direction you actually want to go in and are not just decluttering for the small feeling of happiness after decluttering. So that is, I think, what I would say. I think it's really, really hard to say this specific thing should be decluttered. But we can say that if we have a certain idea of the life we want, or if we have like feelings as indicator, like this feels bad and this feels good, then I just suggest getting rid of everything that either does not serve our future or that just really feels bad, that we do not like owning. Now, of course, we might need some documents for our taxes, so there are things we don't like owning that we still need to keep. And there might be things that don't really hurt us that we like owning, but we just realize they're still not supporting the vision for our future that we have. But I'd say it's hard to say a very specific thing, but it's easy as soon as you have an idea of where you're going. And if you're not there yet, if you're not really sure where you're going, what your vision is, what you want from minimalism, but you still know that some things make you feel better, that minimalism sounds appealing, then that's fine. Like, let's just try it out. Let's just maybe make some mistakes as well, as long as we maybe try to do it according to our values. But even that, it's not always possible. Like, we're always going to make mistakes. We're always going to decide differently in a few years. Like, no matter if it's about the colors I like to wear, like I decided very differently a few years ago than I would say now. If it's about your haircut, I mean, your hair grows again, so you can cut it again and try out a new haircut. By the way, I'm going to cut this hair again. So I'm not struggling with the length of my hair. But what I want to say is just that let's try it out. Let's try to be honest with ourselves. Let's try to make good decisions. And later on, we're going to know more. And then we might need to readjust. But that's fine. And minimalism can be wonderful. It definitely makes my life better. But not because of minimalism, but because of the clarity and everything I've gained through thinking about and working with the things I own, with the things I want to declutter, with the things I want in my future, the things I don't want in my future, things like that. Let's wash these. But also I'm gonna write like a neighbor and ask them if they want any fruit, because it's too much for us. I see that more clearly now than before. Okay, let's hope they want some of all of this. So this is from my freezer. There's some frozen banana in there, but I'm just gonna put more. Because this is all like... This video is a bit all over the place. Still, thank you so much for watching it. I'm still not done. Look at this mess. We have a lot of food. I try to give these things away. I'm trying to eat some of it, but this is getting nowhere. Like, let me know if you really want to see a 2-hour video of me rambling about things like this. But thank you so much for watching. I do hope you could kind of get some insight into my thoughts about minimalism and why I think that minimalism itself might not be the solution, but just part of a solution. But why I also do not think that we should put a stamp on minimalism and say this is like a bad coping mechanism or it's definitely a sign of mental illness, and why it's wrong to just assume anything about a person. And I just do hope that if you're a minimalist, if you're following minimalism values, if you're trying to be sustainable, if you're trying to not wear makeup, have short hair as a woman, if you're that you're trying to make a good life for yourself and for the people around you and for other people who deserve more equality and rights and being seen and everything. So I am also trying to navigate this on this channel because it started out with minimalism, but it's so much more. And I hope you can appreciate that. And I just hope you have a good week. And thank you for being here. And I don't think it makes any more sense to ramble any longer. Thank you for watching. There's another video here. I hope to see you there or in my next video. Thank you so much for all of my patrons. You'll get more of rambles like these over there in my weekly podcast. So maybe you want to check that out if you're interested. And otherwise, until there or next week. Goodbye.